Hello, it's Bradley J. and Bradley J. Travel. This is a compilation video of destinations I didn't have many images for, so decided to put them all into one video, starting off in Austria on the Danube Valley by train. From Vienna to Zurich, probably. This is the summer, and here is a photo of winter, same route. This is Bischofshofen. Interesting because on that winter trip, evening was falling, and this is Innsbruck, and that's summer, by the way. But during the winter, I was looking at each town as the train would pull in around, 4 or 5. It was getting dark, and I'd look at the town to see if it looked inviting, and I just kept on saying, no, the next one, and Bischofshofen looked quite inviting. This is summer again. These trails are harder than they look. This area is all about the geography. It's not about the towns. It's absolutely not. I didn't even find Vienna that interesting. I probably need to go back there. It was probably me. I do love the trains. And I remember that dog and that nice woman. Here's a picture of the train from Vienna to Budapest. There were soldiers along the track because this was during the Balkan War in the 90s. Now we're moving to the Czech Republic. Here are train supplies. I love the trains and I love the dining cars. Look at that. Nice coffee, not crowded. This is Olomouc. I had no idea how charming this town was going to be. Quite a walk from the train station, but it opened onto this really, really great square, and there it is. People here were very friendly. I met some folks at this stand right here where you got some sort of mulled wine punch. They took me to dinner here, and this is what I ate. Here it is. Like a big old thing. It was so incredibly inexpensive. The town is inexpensive. I was able to get a real nice big hotel room. I walked into town and said, "What's the best hotel you have here?" And somebody said, the Bleepity Blop Hotel. So I went over there, and it was very affordable. Now you see Tom and Anya and me. Carola was taking the picture. Carola is the girl with the red hair on the right. And Carola called me one time and said, "Hey, do you want to come to Berlin? And then we'll all go to Prague for New Year's." She set it up. She got kind of this Airbnb arrangement. And it was a 100% blast. Taking the train from Berlin on down and then hanging around with them. They were super fun. Carola has been a great friend for a long, long time. Now, they booked this restaurant in a kind of a suburb of Prague, very small, only maybe 6 tables. And it was all-inclusive, multi-course meal, drinks, and it even included fireworks. This is the place that we stayed. It's kind of an Airbnb. We're on the second floor. They had a fridge and a big giant beer opener. That's Carola. I guess we're all getting ready for bed. And that's the place where we had the New Year's Eve party. You know, some memories are so good you can barely believe that they're true. Well, this is one. I'm very glad that I have the photos. All right, now we're going to move to England. Believe it or not, I only have 4 photos of England. 3 of them are in this bar called the Market Bar on Portobello Road. I went to England because I met a guy. I was in the radio business, and I met another guy in the radio business, and he said, "Come on over and visit." So I did, and I love this bar because of the candles and the dried arrangements of flowers. It looked Gothic, very Gothic. The 4th picture is of the English Channel. I just did a quick crossing, and there it is. And that's it for England. Now we move to France. There are a few more photos of France, although I generally don't stay in Paris. That's the train station and Crepes. And of course, you have Notre Dame. I'm glad I have those photos. Here's Metz, a hotel in Metz. Don't know how I ended up there. Same hotel. Maybe it was on the way to Germany. And here we are, Chamonix. Chamonix is the big deal. If you land in Paris, you can be in Chamonix in the French Alps in maybe 4.5 hours. Probably through Lyon and then some smaller towns. And when you approach Chamonix, it is shocking. And when you go up into these mountains, the atmosphere is different, the temperature is different, the sunlight feels different. It's very, very alpine. If you go during the right season, you can get a pretty good deal. But make sure, and there's a glacier. Charming little town. If you go in high season, it's difficult to find lodging. If you go off season, you'll be way better off. Chamonix in France. Next up is Holland. First time I went was by accident, coming back from Tel Aviv, and my plane got sidetracked, so I spent a night there. These are pictures of the famous Bulldog, kind of a touristy weed place. Now this is Utrecht. Went there with my band called Thunder Brothers, which consisted of drummer Steve Kilroy, a dancer, and me, and had a wonderful time. We were going to head down to the south of Holland to a festival called the Impact Festival, and we'll get photos of that soon. But in the meantime, we enjoyed Utrecht. It is such an extremely different atmosphere than the United States. The photos can tell that story better than I can speak of that story. I'll just talk about some random images that pop up here. That's lunch in Utrecht, very egg heavy. That's some weed pre-rolls in Utrecht and a weed menu and a nice lunch spot. Utrecht is fantastic. On one of the nights before the festival, we went and saw some other bands, very metal and lots of pyro. Here's the set list for our spot in the festival, the Impact Festival. This is backstage. That's Steve Kilroy and a worker at the festival. There's that worker at the Impact Festival. And that's the stage. That was our view from the stage. They shut down the streets and had this big old festival. It was a dream come true. It was a bucket list item, and thank you, Steve Kilroy, for making it happen. Random images of street food. That's just right beside the festival. And yes, we did make it to Amsterdam in the red light district. It's everything you would expect and more. Next up is Ibiza, or some say Ibiza. This was a work-related trip. It was a long trip with 3 legs each way, and I don't think anybody else wanted to go, but I didn't care. We were only there 2 or 3 days, and this was a chance to really experience dance culture at its height. Ibiza is the peak of the dance culture with these giant dance halls that are like estates. It is difficult to describe the hugeness of these things and the culture buzzing inside. That shot right there is interesting because the waves were intense and those rocks are razor sharp. See? And one of the people on the trip was knocked down by the waves. So was I. And it was scary, but she got pummeled in those sharp rocks and was bleeding profusely and kind of almost died. Yeah, we were pressing our luck being out that close to the surf and these sharp rocks, and she had some bad luck. They called the ambulance and everything. Well, there you go. That's our compilation of destinations that I did not have that many photos of. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider subscribing to the channel. And remember, travel lightly.